And what you get with our service is you get low latency calls, you have optimized video quality. And make a note about the optimized video quality. One important thing that we like to highlight is that it's optimized for each endpoint, right? So if you have multiple parties involved in your conference, one might be on a high-end device, one might be on a low-end phone or a low-end computer. Everybody gets a video quality that is optimized for the solution they have. So on the phone, you'll have lower resolution. You might want to show less number of people and all that. It's possible because the cloud has we implement something called the selective forwarding unit. What it does is, depending on what the endpoint wants, it will send that. So we actually we have a scalable video encoding implemented as well, where each where a video solution, a video is encoded in multiple layers. So what that means is, say, if one participant is on a high-end computer and they can decode many participants, or they can decode better resolution, our backend will send high resolution and all the frames to that endpoint. While if you have something like a low resolution phone, we'll only send the base layer, and then the phone can decode that and just show a smaller, ratio or a smaller pixel rate. So that also enables us a personalized layout option. What I mean by that is, we're not compositing the video call in the server. We are not bringing we're not doing any kind of processing. The decoding is done on the client end, where you get the option to see a composited video where we composite for you on the client end, or you also have the option of getting all the video individual streams and then picking the ones you want to show. So you can do all kinds of tweaking and all kinds of customized layout preference on your end. And that's what we're going to see today. How do we actually do that? How do we compare a composited version that's the Vidyo SDK does for you versus a custom one that you can build for yourself? So let's look at the two approaches, right? So what we've seen so far is, once you join a video call and you have, say, multiple video streams coming at you, right? So if you're in a call, we have 4 participants in the call. You join a call, you'll have, including yourself, you'll get 3 other streams coming from the server. You can choose in your application saying, hey, I want to keep it simple, and I'll just use the default option, which is called the composited layout, and I'll assign one view. This is say, hey, Vidyo SDK, just draw everything on this one view. And then that Vidyo SDK will take care of everything. It will composite all the streams coming in. There might be 3 coming in, there might be 5 coming in. If Vidyo detects that, hey, you can only handle 5 video streams at this point, it will communicate with the backend saying, hey, just send me 5 video frames. That's all I can handle. And the backend server will send only 5. There might be 50, there might be 100 people in the call. It will send only 5 to you, and then you can render the 5. Then the Vidyo SDK will render the 5 on the screen. It'll find out how big the view is and put the different places, and it will show the 5, right? So all you need to do on your end is assign one view. It's very simple to use, right? You're not doing anything. You're just saying, I want to say, one parameter you'll set is like, hey, just do a maximum of 10. And you'll set that, and you say, this is the view, and you'll give that view to Vidyo the SDK, and that's it. You're done. All the tiles are taken care for you. If Vidyo detects that, hey, your system is running really heavy, you can't actually do 10, you can do less, then it'll be taken care of for you as well. But what you lose out is you don't really get to say who goes where, right? So if you wanted to lay out where you have participants A, B, C, D, and you're saying, hey, I want to put A as the primary speaker. I want video of A to take like 3/4 of the screen, and the B and C and D can just be on the side. Or if you want to do some kind of this custom, depending on your scenario, you want to do something custom like that, you can't do that in a composited layout. You're relying on Vidyo SDK to just give the default. So if you want to do something more than what you get, you'll have to jump over to the custom layout option. Here, what will happen is you get to decide which participant is shown. You get to decide which view gets how much space on the screen. and if they're shown at all to begin with, right? So what will happen is I'll show you the code later on, but you'll get callback events where you'll say we have, say, 20 remote participants with video. And now it's up to you to assign each view. So each participant, you'll assign a view. I'll say, hey, A gets this view. So depending on the platform, it might be a div in web page, it might be a activity in Android, or a UI view in iOS. So you'll assign one view to a participant, and you'll decide its size. And you'll have to do that for each participant, including the local camera, right? So you're going to do, it's going to be a bit more involved, but you get to decide what happens with each video tile. And not to mention that, so since you're taking care of it, you'll have to composite it. So you can decide if it's going to be side by side. You can decide if it's like in one vertical space, horizontal. You're going to put them like Hollywood squares, or you just show one at a time. You're responsible for compositing it. So you get the flexibility and you get the freedom, but you also have to do the work. So let's look at some of the code differences. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing that you do when you connect, when you're using Vidyo.io, you do first, obviously, you do the video initialize. Then you create a video client object. And in the constructor call, we have certain parameters that's passed in. The very first one is the view ID. And if you've already played around with this, you know that this is where you tell video, hey, this is where you're going to draw everything, right? So if you give something over here, you're opting into the composited layout. So all you need to do to opt into composite layout is pass an actual view in this call. So when you pass, say, an activity, if you pass, UI view in iOS, you're saying that, hey, draw it over here. If you're passing it, if you're doing a web page and you assign a div, and you give the div ID over here, you're telling Video SDK that I want composited layout, and this is where you're drawing everything. And then you can handle the size of that div, how big and small it is. But inside that, the Video SDK will take care of which particular video tile will take how much space. That the SDK will do it for you. You just tell it you just control the overall size. So this is the only thing that tells the difference. Once you set this, then you can say which style you want. Currently, there are a couple of options, default and tiling. New releases will even probably give more style options. We'll love to hear from you what kind of styling you wanted added in this, so we can plan for it in the future. And then the third parameter is remote participants, right? So one point of control you do have in the composited layout is you can always tell video what is the maximum number of participants you want to see. That doesn't mean you'll always see that maximum number, right? Your machine and network should be able to support that. But you can at least say that, hey, I want at a max of only 4. Maybe you're on a phone, right? Maybe you're on a smaller screen. So if you know it's a mobile app, you don't want to show more than 4. You'll just say, hey, I just want to show 4 at a max. Or you might be developing a desktop app, bigger screen, so you can say something like 16. So that's the only kind of input you can give while drawing to the composite layout. Rest of the parameters, I'm sure you guys are already aware of. You know, the log filter parameters, depending on what you set the levels, you'll get those kind of logs from our system. You can set a file name, or it'll just be default if you leave it blank. And you can use the user data for your own purposes. If you have you pass your own data that you can always send and get through the video connector object. All right, now that was the composited layout, right? So what do we do for custom layout? As I said, there's only one key parameter in the function, the view ID. If you pass in nil or null over here, that means you're telling the SDK, hey, I'm going to take care of drawing each participant. This is custom layout. So you don't worry about drawing it. So that's the only difference, passing in the view ID or passing in nil or null, depending on what platform you're on. The view style doesn't matter anymore. Setting it to default because, hey, you're going to be responsible. So this is mute at this point. Remote participants as well. So you're not telling how much maximum you're going to draw. You're going to take care of how many you're going to draw, which you're going to show, and all that. So you can ignore these ones. And the log filters and user data stay the same. All right. Once that's done, what's the as you know, in the composited layout, there is no setup, right? You just say draw over here, and you adjust the size of the overall video conferencing window, and that's it. You're done. But in the custom layout options, you're taking care of everything. So there'll be more setup or more steps involved, right? So let's go through the important methods and callbacks that we'll have to handle when you're doing custom layout. The first thing you need to do is, once you succeed with that video connector constructor, you'll get the video connector object. And one of the things you need to do is register for local camera event listeners, right? We're still going to take care of all the devices and making the connections and even drawing stuff. We'll take care of that. But you just need to hook on a few things so that you get control. So the first thing is, you say you register for local camera events. So when you register for this event and you give all this, you implement the callback methods, you'll get notified saying, hey, a local camera got added. So if there were 2-3 cameras, this will get triggered 2 to 3 times, depending on how many cameras you have. If it's removed, which one is selected, you can still switch between the selfie cameras, and you get all these. But what you get with this is, why you need this is, you're going to control where the self view is going to get shown, right? So you need to get an object of the local camera, because later on you're going to say this local camera goes in this view. So you need that. So that's why you register for the local camera event. So you get the local camera added for the at least you have to do this much to get this object, and then you know which camera, and then you need to keep track of which camera is actually selected. So if the user switches on the camera, you need to know that the user is selecting a different local camera. Now I need to show a selfie from that camera. So you need to then hold on to that object and then assign a view to that. I'll show you how that's done in an actual code as well. So this is one of the important events you need to listen to. Next one is the remote camera, right? So if you're doing a video conference call, if you're interested in seeing the other participants, you need to know when they have cameras enabled as well. So the next event, pretty important event, is the remote camera event listeners. So once you register for this, you'll get callbacks on when somebody, say you're in a call, you're the first person, nobody's there yet. Then you won't get anything, you won't get any events added over here. But as soon as somebody joins within camera, you'll get an on remote camera added. If they mute, you'll get an on remote camera removed. If they leave, you'll still get on remote camera removed. So you can keep track of how many remote videos you have at a particular time. If you join in and there are 3 people already in the call, all with cameras, you'll get this event 3 times, one after the other, one for each. All right. So, and again, I'll show you how, once you get the camera, how you can actually assign a view to it. I'll deep dive into that when we are looking at the code. Next, audio devices. Although you don't individually do anything with the audio devices, we have to actually get audio, you need to register for these events. The reason we didn't do this by default is, what if you have a scenario where you're only interested in getting the views, but you don't want to get audio? So there could be some scenarios, right? So since it's a custom, we're in the theme of custom, we want to give that option to you as well. So once you register for local speaker and local microphone, that's when we connect your microphone to the conference, right? So if you don't do this, we won't even connect microphones. We won't even connect remote speakers or all that. So to get this the audio going on, you need to register for these 2 events, and that's it. You could choose to do more in the callbacks, but you will need this in the custom option if you want audio setup as well. All right. The next important step is assign and show. What do I mean by that is, once you get all the cameras, say from local and remote, you are going to assign them to a view, right? So you know that there is, say, hey, I got 3 remote participants. Now I want to show them somewhere. I got A, B, C. I'm only going to show A and B and maybe not C, or I'm going to show all 3 or whatever. But you need to now do the mapping of this remote person is going to be drawn at this particular view. So remember the view ID that we used in our constructor? It's the same concept. We create another div, we create another view, another window, or whatever, depending on the platform, and we pass that in this method. We are going to say, hey, this view is assigned for this remote camera. So the camera that we got from the callback, we're going to pass it down here. Note that we have to do for the same thing for the local camera as well, because you probably want to show the self view, right? You want to see yourself when you're in a call. So you want to do the same thing, assign a self view. And the way you do it is by assigning this, calling this method. And once you're done assigning, you need to call a show view at. So this basically positions the view in the window. You're going to say, this is the window. And if you want, you can give it some offset. You can put it at 0, 0, and you set it the width and height. In the sample that that I'm going to show later on is basically going to maximize it. It'll maximize the space. So we're going to just put the width and height of actually the view. But you can choose to put a subset, right? You can do whatever you want. Okay, so once we do that, there's another important callback that you need to listen to. It's called the participant event listener. And this is a very interesting and significant callback as well. Interface as well, because sometimes you might have participants that don't have cameras, right? So you might have some people who joined in this call right now. We just have my video. So we have many participants rather than cameras sometimes. So if you want to keep track of that, you need to keep track of the participant joined and participant left. Other thing that is very important is loudest participant changed event, right? So when you start implementing custom and you're not using the composited default, you'll start realizing that in a multi-party, there's some complexities that you need to take care of. You might run into a situation that where you can only draw, say, 4 participants on the screen while there are 40 participants in the call. So if that happens, how do I know which 4 to show? And that can be determined by this loudest participant changed event. So what we do in the composited for you, that you'll have to take it on yourself. So you're going to, when you get, say, if you have A, B, C, D shown on the screen and somebody else starts talking, you want to show that person on the screen. So you will get that event saying this participant is the loudest speaker, and you can choose to then switch things around and bump somebody out and show that person on the screen. This is done for you in the composited, but you'll have to do that in the custom. And we'll dig into that code as well. A few extended features that we've recently added in our release is getting the local frame, camera frame, and the local audio frame. So if you want to do something cool, like in your frame, do some add some cool effects on it, adding some shading on the frame, or do you want to do some image processing on the local frame, then you can also choose our custom layout option. You can register for the local camera frame, you can register for the local audio frame, and you'll get and you can set the frame rate at what rate you want them, and you can do some processing on them. So this is for the kind of the advanced kind of features if you want to implement. So I hinted towards the situation of dynamic participant list, right? So I mentioned that in the composited, we take care of showing the right active people on the screen for you. So I want to hit that on in detail, because this something happens for you in the background. But if you're implementing the custom layout, you need to know what you can do to mimic this behavior or why this is needed, right? So I'll give you an example. Say if you're in a call and there are 6 participants with different colors, 1 to 6, and on the screen you've chosen the composite layout option, and on the screen we can just show 4 at a time, right? Maybe you said I just want to see 4, or the computer and the network can only allow 4 at a time. So with our backend selective forwarding unit technology, the router, and the communication that happens between the client and the backend is that, hey, I can only show 4, send me video for only 4. So that way we're optimizing everything. But this is all good. But what happens if, say, number 5 starts talking, right? Then what you'd want is you want to see who's speaking, and you would want to put number 5 on the screen. So what happens is what will happen is number 5 then is the loudest speaker. So in the priority list, he becomes number 1, or she. They become number 1. And in that case, the dynamic participant changed event will get triggered, letting you know that, hey, the ordering has changed. Now this particular person is on the top of the list, and this is the rankings. This is how they've shifted. So as soon as you get that, and if you're already using the composited layout option, the least ranked one will get bumped out, and the new person will get added in the view. So that way, we're not disrupting the view too much, but you can see the person, and the least one is bumped out. Now, say number 6 is the loudest speaker. Same thing will happen again. That person will get bumped up the list. It will become the most highest ranked. Everybody else will get shifted down in terms of ranking. So you'll get the dynamic participant change event again. And then you'll basically, in the composited layout, we'll do the switch out for you. As you see in the previous one, yellow color was the least significant. So we bump that person out and we add the new person in. And this is important to know. If you want to do something, if you want to know who's on the list, if you're using Composited and you still want to know what's being rendered, you can keep a track of it. You're listening to this event. If you don't care, you can ignore it. But if you're using the custom layout, you have to take care of this yourself, right? So then, because we don't want to mess with what's being shown, the whole point is that it's custom. So what we'll do is the loudest speaker event, you can listen to that and know who's speaking, and you'll have to implement this logic saying, hey, I'm going to show this person and remove that person. So that kind of logic you'll have to implement on your end. So yes, so what I did over here is I just downloaded the video sample from our website. So if you go to Vidyo.io and you go to downloads, you can download a package for the platform of your choosing. And I downloaded the web one. So I have this JavaScript samples in front of me. And in our samples itself, we give the option of both how to join using custom and composited. So you could choose, you can look through the code right away. What I'll do is I'll quickly go through the code and highlight the points that I discussed earlier, so we can see, what the callbacks, how it was mapped, and what you need to do, etc. So as you can see in the default layout, the video, when we create a video connector, this is our default composited layout option. It's implemented in the video connector.js. You pass in the render ID. This was the div ID that we used in the HTML. I think if you go to the HTML here, it's right over here. This is the div. It's called render, and it will get drawn right over here. So you just say, hey, I want to draw it over there. I can set these parameters, and I'm kind of done. So I don't really need any other interfaces. I could choose to, but for the talk, nothing else is necessary. All I need to do is once that's set up, I succeed, I need to just connect to the call, and that's done. And where is the connect call right here? Oh, it's somewhere down. I want to go to that right now. Connect. There it is. So once I'm ready to connect, this will get called. Again, as you know, you'll pass in the host, which is typically be prod.vidyo.io. You pass in the right token, the room you want to connect, and you'll join in with the composited option. So kind of to highlight, you use type of connection of the composite versus custom in the constructor. Once you've constructed the object, you can't switch between two options. The only way to do it is create another object for a different type, and then use that object to connect to calls. So if you want to do both in your application, you have to create two different objects. That's exactly what we've done in this sample as well. We in the connector custom layout option, we create another object, but this time we pass in null in the view ID, and once it succeeds, we implement some of these callbacks. We register for device listener, we handle device change, we handle participant change. So if you look at the handle participant change function, here we implement the callbacks, and the one that I was talking about earlier, the loudest participant change event, we are seeing, hey, is the loudest participant actually on screen right now? I think in this sample, we probably, there's a method that we set for each participant, and we check to see if that person, the ID, is in the list. And if it's not in the list, then we actually bump out the one person out and actually show the other person. So you can go through the code over here and see that if it's not found, then we set some flags. Okay, this person is not rendered. We set it to true. So we keep a track of which participant is rendered, which participant is not. Since it's custom, we need to do all this to show it. and then you assign the view to the camera, and then it gets shown. I kind of didn't mention the two options that you get with assign view to camera. I forgot about that. You can choose to crop. So what display crop means is sometimes the aspect ratio that you get for the camera might not align with the aspect ratio of the view you're setting, right? You might set a square view to display somebody coming in, and they might have an aspect ratio which is like 16:9, something 3:4, or something else. So when you're assigning the couple of options we provide, do you want to see them cropped, or do you want kind of letterboxing? So you can choose that by setting the true or false here, and you can also set the zoom options to true or false as well. So that way you can zoom into the person or not. That's that. And the other important one that we have to look at is handle device changes. This one will have all the camera events, so it listens to selected. Okay, so it will listen to the camera options, it will listen to the microphone options, and when there's a change, you basically can set that as well. You can set the local microphone, set the local camera, set the local speaker, etc. Along with this, I also want to show another demo. So let me stop this. And let me show you the project that I'm working on. There you go. All right. So what I have over here is an ongoing project. I'm working on a Swift project for iOS. We don't have Swift support right out of the box yet, but since we can always bridge between Objective-C and Swift, I put this sample up on GitHub, which shows you how you can build a bridging header between both our Objective-C SDK and your Swift project. And so if you're interested in that, feel free to look at the link in our handout and look at the GitHub page. I'll be uploading, I have already uploaded the sample there, and I'll keep maintaining and add some more cool features in it as well. So the one thing I wanted to show in this demo is I wanted to highlight again the difference between composite and custom, right? So in this composite layout, I didn't have to do much. All I had to do is connect to the call and say I'm going to basically use right over here. I'm basically going to pass in a video view. That's about it. I just am interested in 4, and I said that, and I'm good to go. But on custom, as you can see, here we have to do more again. In this case, I'm going to pass a nil as the view ID, and then I'm going to register for all the events: local camera, remote camera, local speaker, microphone, and an event listener. And for the basic, what I had to do is on the local camera, the local camera added, once that got called, I had assigned a view for myself. I used a UI view object. I had to assign that view to the and the local camera. So you can see the callback will get called with this object. I call assign view. I'm going to say, display cropped, and that's true. Do not zoom. And then I also, I don't want to show my own preview name. Another option that you can, I think you can do is show the name of the person or not, right? For my self view, I'm not interested in seeing, by default we say preview. I'm not interested in seeing that, so I set that to false. And then the last thing I do is I tell where to show the view at. I want the width and height same as the parent view, and I want no offset, so I set that to X and Y starts at 0. Similarly, I need to listen to the remote camera events. I do the same thing. I've done some cool stuff here with border colors, border width. So you can do, so this is the whole point of using a custom option, right? You can stick to your application style. So in my application style, if I want a border width of certain color, width size of certain color, I can do all those things using the custom layout option. So I've added a border color of black and a small border, and I want to show the name, but I want to show the font. The font and the style is important to me because it has to look coherent with everything else in my application. So what I do is I say, hey, don't show the default name of the participant. I do it myself. So I create my UI label object of my own. I get the participant name and I add it to the view. So that way I can get the look and feel that I want. And but while doing all that, we also have to do more work. So I have a lot of work that I need to do in figuring out where the self view will show up, where the remote views are going to show up. So I have all the code implemented for that.